Hey everyone, we're back. We're in the kitchen today. I thought it would be fun to do cinnamon roll recipe again. I've done the one original cinnamon roll and I will link that video in the description down below. And then we did a fun twist on the caramel pecan or not pecan cinnamon rolls, and I will leave that link as well in the description should you would like to go and check those out. Today, because it's fall, I thought we would do something fun and do a twist on the original cinnamon roll recipe and kind of combine that like a hybrid with the Pioneer Woman's pumpkin cinnamon roll recipe. So we're gonna use my cinnamon roll recipe, and then I have written hers down in my book, and I will put I'll try to find the link to hers and post it down below as well. If I can't find one, then maybe you can find one, but it is the Pioneer Woman's, but we're not gonna go by hers exactly. We're gonna do a little bit, take elements from this one and put it in mine. And we're gonna make pumpkin ones. So let's get started. The kids are behind you at the kitchen table doing their schoolwork today. And tomorrow we are leaving town. We're gonna go see my parents for the weekend. So I'm gonna whip up some pumpkin cinnamon rolls and take them with us when we go. We're gonna get the dough going so it can rise for an hour. And then while it's rising, they're gonna take a break. We're gonna eat lunch, clean up lunch, and then it should be ready to turn out. So let's get the dough going so that we can get our lunch going. So come on. Okay, this starts out just like my regular cinnamon roll recipe. You've got the 1 cup of warm but not hot milk, and I've already poured it in the bowl. And then you need 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, not instant yeast, active dry yeast. And we're gonna stir this all around, kind of get it, the sugar anyways, dissolved. The yeast isn't gonna dissolve completely, but at least kind of dissolve the sugar some so that the yeast can get busy eating. Now we're gonna let this sit for 5 minutes in proof while we get the rest of the ingredients together. Okay, so we've got our 2 eggs, the 1/2 cup of sugar, the 6 tablespoons of butter already melted over here, and my vanilla that I normally add to this at the end of the 5 minutes. In addition to that, we are going to put 1 cup of pumpkin. This is just the canned pumpkin puree. If you saw my video about the pumpkin spice coffee creamer, it only called for, I think, 3 tablespoons out of that whole can. So I measured out a cup of it and covered it in saran wrap and stuck it in the refrigerator because I knew I was gonna make these. I don't wanna waste all of that pumpkin. And then Sweet Willow got the rest of it as a lovely treat on her food. Now we're getting the dry ingredients together as well. This is my normal 4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cinnamon. To this, we're going to add a couple other new spices. We are going to follow Pioneer Woman's and add her ginger and nutmeg to this to put into the dough. And it calls for 1/4 of a teaspoon of each one. So, timer's about to go off. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes. So we're gonna get this in here, and then we're gonna get the dough together. So 1/4 of a teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. You could have fun with it. I guess if you wanted to put like pumpkin pie spice in it, you could. Oh, the nutmeg smells so good. I didn't level those spoonfuls off. They were just slightly heaping, but not a whole lot. 2 eggs. 1/2 cup of sugar. 6 tablespoons of melted butter. A teaspoon of vanilla. Right. Can almost do this in my sleep. And then also this time we're adding in the pumpkin. I did pull it out of the refrigerator about 10 minutes ago, probably not long enough, just so I wasn't putting cold pumpkin into this warm mixture. And because we are adding this extra wet ingredient, we're probably going to need to adjust the amount of flour that we add to the dough to compensate, which is fine. And we're just gonna stir all this together. This is why you wear an apron. Okay, now we're gonna put the dough hook on. And start adding this. Okay, so we got all of that flour in, and now we're just gonna keep adding more until it gets to the consistency where I told you where you could touch it and it doesn't stick. That's what we're looking for, which usually is about a half of a cup more flour, but with all that pumpkin, it's gonna take more than a half of a cup. So we're just gonna slowly add this in and see how this goes. It's pulling away from the bowl, but once all the flour gets worked in, it goes back to sticking. So we're almost there. Okay, we're gonna check this. Almost. Yep, now it's ready. Definitely stickier when you add in the pumpkin, but that's good because you know they're not going to be dry after you've baked them. They're nice and moist. Perfect. Looks like it's about to start raining. Just fine by me. Oops. Okay, not gonna need it a whole lot, just enough to get it all worked together. Pull it up into a ball. Trusty cinnamon roll towel. I'm just gonna lay it right there and let that rise. Okay, before I clean up the mess, while this is starting to rise, I'm gonna go ahead and get my filling ready so that it's ready to go. It's just the butter, the whole cup of brown sugar packed, and the 2.5 tablespoons of cinnamon, just like normal, but to make this the pumpkin version, we're gonna add the nutmeg and the ginger to the filling. So we are going to use what the Pioneer Woman does for her filling, those measurements, and then you can go from there if you would like to add more or less or take one completely out. Maybe you're not a fan of ginger or nutmeg, leave it out. Or like I said, if you would like to do pumpkin pie spice instead, you do you. So she has, for her filling, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger and 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. So we're gonna put the nutmeg in here. I'm slightly rounding it. I'm not leveling it off because I like nutmeg. Is 1/2 teaspoon of the ginger. This is why I like putting them in a great big jar for the ones that I use all the time. I'm not as much of a fan of ginger, so I'm gonna do it like that. And then I'm going to pop this in the microwave for just like 10 seconds, just to soften the sugar and the butter just even more, and stir it all together. And then I'm gonna clean up all of this mess, and then we will come back and put it all together. Just got through washing my hands again. My poor hands. Winter's coming and they're gonna start hating me. They're gonna start cracking and bleeding. But you know, you gotta wash them. What are you gonna do? Spread this out a little. Look how pretty. Isn't that beautiful? I'm gonna dump that out. Flour it. We're not gonna really knead it very much. I just wanna kind of stretch it into a rectangular shape. Look at all the spices in there. Nutmeg and showing through. This is normal, just like the cinnamon roll recipe. It's still gonna make 12 cinnamon rolls. We're just gonna fill it. Like I said, we added the other spices to the filling. It's the butter, the brown sugar, and the cinnamon like normal, but also that nutmeg and ginger. I'm just gonna add it on here. And at this point, if you wanted to, you could do chopped pecans and sprinkle them in here as well once you get this spread out. I'm not this time for two reasons. One, I don't have any. And two, I'm taking these to my mom and dad's house. And daddy is not a fan of pecans. So I'm not gonna put them in there even if I did have them. So we're just gonna spread this out. It's yummy filling, it smells so good. You just want it to be a nice even layer so that every bite you take has the same amount and you don't have like globs of filling. Okay, that's probably good. But we don't want to waste this yummy filling. Just get it off. This is the point where you would sprinkle the pecans if you wanted to put pecans. Roll this up. You know how you can tell by feeling the dough if it's gonna be like a dry roll or not? This feels so good. It feels so moist. Okay. Try to get it somewhat even thickness. I just cut the log in half, and I know it makes 12, so this is 6 and this is 6. And then I cut that in half, so this is 3 and this is 3. So now I just have to cut these into thirds. And I just eyeball it. And for the icing, I'm not gonna use the Pioneer Woman's icing. I'm gonna use my regular cinnamon roll icing, the regular ingredients. I'm not altering that at all. Just regular cream cheese icing. Okay, I'll start with the two middle ones. They go in corners. Okay, so the two middle ones go in the corner, and I put the seam towards the corner. So if they start to unwind when they rise, the pan will hold it together. So see, like here's the seam side right here. I'm gonna put it in the corner. Seam is here, put it in the corner. And then I go here, seam up against the pan. Again, seam up against the pan. Where's the seam? Right here. There we go. Seam side against the pan. There we go. that. And then these end pieces, instead of putting them in the pan, the seam side up, I put seam side down. And the seam where I've rolled them together, I make them face each other in the pan. So here's the seam. Like this. Look, aren't they pretty? So now I'm gonna let these rise for 30 minutes and I'm gonna set this on the stove top and go ahead and preheat the oven. So as the oven is heating up, it will create a warm environment for these to rise. 30 minutes into a 350 oven, bake 30 minutes. Look, they're so good. Okay. These are out of the oven. I've already made the icing. I didn't film it because it's already on a video. It's linked down below. If you want to go watch that video to see how I did it. It's really not hard. It's a block of cream cheese, a half a stick of butter, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 cups of powdered sugar, all mixed together in the mixer. So these are hot out of the oven. I'm gonna go straight ahead and put the icing on them so that it can kind of melt and get down in the little cinnamon roll cracks and crevices. And then as soon as this is room temperature and the icing has kind of set, I'm gonna wrap these in some saran wrap and then cover them in foil. So it'll be a double layer to try to hold in moisture and maybe keep the rest of us out of them. So that is pumpkin cinnamon rolls. And again, if you did put the pecans on the inside and the filling, you could also save a little bit and sprinkle them on the top of the icing as well if you wanted to. All right, you guys, that's it. There's the pumpkin cinnamon rolls all ready to go. We just gotta wrap them up and load them in the car. That's it for this video. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Love y'all. Bye.